I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. The title of this webinar is Insights from Collision for Startups. Yeah. Before I proceed, I want to acknowledge that I'm podcasting here as host from the traditional land of Atikashmechen, Aniwashpik, and that's the greater city of Sudbury also includes the traditional land of Wanapite First Nation. The rules of engagement: if you would like to ask a question, you can either type the question in the chat box and I will read it out for you, or raise your hand and I will unmute you. A copy of this recording will be available on our YouTube channel, Nobip, and also on our website at nobip.ca shortly after the end of this webinar. The objective of this webinar is to inform businesses on how they can leverage technology, mainly AI, artificial intelligence. That was the theme of the collision. And also for the panelists to share their learnings, insights, and takeaways from collision. Without further ado, I would like to invite each panelist to briefly introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gina, and I'm the Program and Office Manager here at Nobip. I am very happy that you guys are here. Once again, we apologize. Thank you for being here. I cannot wait to share what I learned over the past, it wasn't the last month, it was still in July. It feels like time.
Yeah, July.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm excited to share. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can all hear me just fine. My name is Charles Bakai, and I am the Program and Events Coordinator here at Nobip.
Yep. Thank you. And we're missing one panelist. Hopefully will join us later on.
At some point, he's going to come in.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to start with some discussion on what your insights was on the collision. So the first point is key takeaways from collision conferences. Gina, can you tell us were there any surprising or eye-opening moment from the conference that changed your perspective on AI in startups?
Yes, because for me, I used to have conversations all the time with our director about how he felt like AI is the future. And for me, and I just got afraid, but I think where I was coming from was just a lack of knowledge, not understanding where AI stops and where the human starts, or like where the human stops and AI begins. So I needed to just have more knowledge on how I could leverage it on my normal daily life and in my work life. So going to collision, one of the surprises was all that I learned and how now I can proudly say I use AI on my daily basis. And AI is my assistant in making my day more effective. And also eye-opening was just really understanding the world of AI, which I'm going to be sharing on how like small businesses can leverage it, because we work with people that are starting up, people that are trying to create businesses. We can all use AI in the different places that we are in our businesses. So yes, it was definitely, and now I'm proud to say I do agree with Charles Nyabeze that AI is the future. And this is not to say it does not come with any risks, but that's what I think as we go, we're going to touch on that. Thank you.
And Charles, what were the most significant themes related to the power of AI that you observed during the collision conference?
Okay. Before I actually get into that, I want to prefix it with this. I have been following the development of artificial intelligence for quite some time now. And from the very beginning, I've been extremely skeptical about it. Can everyone hear me clearly? if I proceed.
Yes.
Yes, I
Excellent.
can hear you. Yes.
Excellent. Yes. So I've been extremely skeptical, but when I attended Collision, I believe that my thoughts around AI were completely switched. I am now more trusting of it, but from a distance, right? I don't fully trust it yet, and I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But but if we touch on the themes about AI and just how impactful it will be, the reasons as to why it will be so impactful is that it is fast. It is incredibly fast. And it's particularly in research. That's why I think for the regular person that isn't too versed in this world, using AI to do research would be where it will be most useful and impactful. What would usually take you, let's say 5 to 10 minutes to look up on Google, you type it in ChatGPT, for example, and it's at your fingertips, right? And it's in a conversational manner, so it's not intimidating, right? It's not intimidating at all because it seems like you're having a conversation with another human being or another person on the other side of the screen, right? So it's fast. It makes retrieving information fast. It's also very convenient, right? And the more powerful the tool is, the more accurate information you will get, the more accurate results it will produce, right? So again, AI is fast, it's convenient, and the more powerful it is, the more accurate results it will produce. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Charles. Now we're going to touch a little bit on the implementation of AI in the startups. So, Charles, what are some successful cases of AI implementation in startups that you've come across or experienced so far?
That I've come across. I can't remember the exact names of the organizations, right? But one thing that they touched on a lot was no code and low code tools. Now, these tools are basically, they help with the development of websites, for example, right? Whereas before you would need someone trained in website development to help you develop a website. With low-code tools or no-code tools, you don't need any experience with the development of, say, websites, for example, right? And that is where we have, AI showing one of its advantages. It bridges the knowledge gap. You don't have experience in web development? That's okay. Tools exist, and again, we can do research and find out what these tools are, but they do exist, and they help in developing a website from scratch, right? Wix is an example of a low-code, no-code tool. It helps you develop websites from scratch, and if it's e-commerce, you can put that in the back end as well. No experience required, no expertise required. It makes it easy, it makes it simple, right? So that will definitely help startups. Right, you need to build a website for your business. You don't know how, that's okay. A tool like Wix, where you pay a monthly or a yearly subscription, right, can help you develop a website in a short period of time and at low costs, right? So that's just an example of how useful AI really is and can be.
Yeah, it's quite useful. So for startup, Gina.
I didn't mute
myself.
myself.
Okay.
Just to piggyback on what Charles said, because I know, Karen, you're coming with a question for me. But just thinking about people that are starting up a business, there's also now these new apps or websites that can help you with your branding your business. And it's AI that's going to pull all the information that you'll spend days looking for in order for you to brand your business. So it has really made our lives a little bit easier in a way, and made everything reachable and not so threatening, because now we do have help that's embedded.
Yeah, what you said, it's quite true. Yeah. Okay, so for startups interested in adopting AI, what advice would you give them to make the most of the potential? while overcoming common obstacles? Gina?
The one thing I'll start by saying is collaboration. Do not let AI do the work for you. You have to feed it information and then let it work together with AI, because at some point, if we don't do that, we stand not being effective, and sometimes we stand having the same information across the board. Because if somebody does the same thing you do, like go say, can you build a business for me? And then it just does that. The next person who does that is going to do the same thing. But if you can feed it, this is my idea. Can you make it concise? It's going to do that. I am trying to say A, B, C, D, F, G. Can you help me out with framing what I'm trying to say? So you have to collaborate with AI. And I think that is the best way that you can be able to leverage clarity. You can be able to leverage AI. And part of it too, I always say, for me, English is my second language. So most of the time I will write, I will write an email, or I will write a paper where it's like 3 pages because I keep repeating myself or something, and I will be able to feed AI that paper and say, can you write it for clarity? And it will be able to shrink it and it will make it more concise. So that's what I found very helpful in simple things like as even writing my emails every day. But then I wouldn't let AI just do the work for me. So let's leverage it and let's collaborate with AI.
Okay, okay, too. So you have your own idea and give it to AI to help you make it concise and yeah, let's see. Okay, thank you so much for that. So now we're going to go to the AI ethics and implications. Okay. Charles, how can startups ensure transparency and fairness when deploying AI algorithm?
Fairness and transparency. I think a big component of that has to be intentionality. Like actually being intentional in the way you, I guess, structure your organization if you are going to include AI in building it, right? I know for, let's say, the big tech companies or big corporations, they are all about cost-saving measures, right? And human resources, human people are very costly, right? You have to give them benefits. You have to give them paid vacation time. You also have to pay them, obviously, wages and all of that. So with artificial intelligence, right, it makes it, if AI is as good as a human being, you don't need human beings anymore, right? That's the general idea. But why would you want to fully rely on a machine without human emotion? Like, what are the benefits? Do the benefits outweigh the negatives, right? Do the benefits outweigh the negatives? We don't know for a fact, right? But there have been concerns raised about that. And we even see that in Hollywood right now, right? Actors in Hollywood are on strike. And what they're fighting against is the movie studios, right? Taking their image, owning their image rights. And with that, there could be the issue of, feeding it to some kind of artificial intelligence to get to a point where they don't need the actors anymore, right? They have your image, they have your likeness. AI is now doing your job and you aren't being compensated for that, right? So for me, the way to avoid that is to be very intentional about including human beings, right? But then again, it's on a person-to-person basis. People go into business for a variety of reasons, but the major reason being to make money, right? If you put profits ahead of people, it's going to reflect in decisions that you make, right? So profits are important, but human beings are way more important than profits, in my humble opinion, right? So when we bring AI into that conversation, let's ensure that we are still recognizing that human beings are the key here. And without them, none of this exists. If you own a corporation, if you own a business, without people, your corporation, your business does not exist. Without people who are your customers, your business does not exist, right? So be intentional about including people at every level, even if AI is brought in. And that would be my take on that.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, and Gina, in light of AI potential to disrupt jobs, how can startups balance the benefits of automation with the impact on the workforce? You muted.
Sorry about that. So the thing with that is that AI is, as we said, it's always collaboration, because AI does not have doesn't have the human nuances. Like, we still need humans on the job. No matter what we do, we're gonna increase productivity for sure, because AI is smarter. Like, it can absorb so much information than a human being can. But however, for us to be able to, one thing that was talked about at Collision was that what jobs can children now study at school? Because it looks like the future AI is going to be able to do everything.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey Hinton, who is like tagged the godfather of AI, did say that, you know what, maybe you need to be in the trades, because they don't have dexterity. They cannot be a plumber. They cannot become like all those things. So we're looking at a world that we're not sure. I'm not sure personally what that will look like, but I know for sure that it has increased productivity, in that some of the work that would take me a long time to do has now been reduced. But is there gonna be able to take a possession of the nuances I bring as a human being, the emotion I bring to the job, the different things that makes us, is still a machine, no matter how much we look at it.
Yes, yeah, you're right about that.
Yes,
Okay.
so that's my take on that. That let's always, like, I was looking at one of the, I know we said questions later, and I looked at that and I was like, I was thinking just that. So I wait for the questions, but yeah, that's like, I think, I don't know if I answered the question, Karen, just saying that,
Okay.
yes, AI is gonna do that, but is the jobs, like, there's so many benefits to, like, in terms of, so I think it's about finding where AI fits in your business, right? It could be, somebody was saying that you can, it's like, it's a co-pilot. Let's always look at AI as a co-pilot. Let's not give it complete autonomy to take over. We always have to feed it. We always have to work with it.
Okay. Okay, Emmanuel, I think Tina answered your question. Are you satisfied with the answer?
This without providing conscience. Hold on. This is oh, and also, Emmanuel, just to add to that question, is that again, going back to Jeffrey Hinton, he did say that people right now, people are working on seeing how they can make AI better and all these things, which is like really great. However, the smartest person is trying to see what would happen if AI becomes smarter. Like, they're able to give it like a, you know, they provide it with like all the human features, and it begins to have all these human nuances. What would happen when AI takes over? So the smarter person is busy assessing what would the risks that comes with AI becoming smarter than humans.
Another question that often comes to mind is, why do we even want to get AI to the point where it can make decisions on its own? What is the benefit of that, right? Why are we trying to get it to that point? I don't know, maybe we think also, why are we trying to create something smarter than we are? I think about that a lot, and as of yet, it does not make sense to me. What is the benefit of that? Are you trying to fully outsource your thinking, your critical thinking to a machine? And if you do that, what are you left with?
Yeah.
What are you left with? AI does everything for you. You are heavily dependent on it now.
Yeah.
What next?
Sitting and enjoying the good life and getting rich.
Unless maybe the goal is to create a useless class of people, maybe then it would make sense. But even if you do create a useless class of people, why do you want to create a useless class of people? Again, right? So I don't know if I have the answers to these questions anytime soon, but I'm definitely interested to see what the answers are.
Okay, there's one more question from Linda. Her concern is privacy. She said, we are feeding all this information into the machine. What will happen to company secrets? Yeah.
That's another very good one.
Yes, yes.
What will happen, right, to company secrets? At this point, do you even have secrets? Can you even keep secrets? Right?
No, we don't have secret anymore.
Right. So I don't know. Usually we would rely on government to come up with policies and somehow, some way enforce them on corporations, because already corporations are siphoning off our information, packaging it, and then shipping it off to data brokers to be sold at a profit, right? Major tech companies do that, all of them. The social media sites are guilty of that as well. So with security, as a silly joke, maybe all stay off the internet. Maybe that way our information is not on to be stolen, but that's not really practical, is it? So personally, I don't know what happens with security yet, right? But the exciting thing is that as a collective, we can come together, and the more conversations we're having about this, perhaps solutions will come out of those conversations, right? So AI is a new hot thing, but we still need human beings to ensure that it is not steamrolling all of us, right? So that would be my take on that.
So I have a raised hand.
Like with privacy, just to answer the question too, just to add on, is that I love that already we were trying to explore the idea of AI, but we're also very aware of what could happen. So I think knowing that, that's a really hard question to tackle. And I don't really think that there was like a solid answer regarding people's privacy. There's things that companies try to put in place. But then I don't think there's like a straight answer when it comes to that. But then us having awareness as business people, as entrepreneurs, I think that's like a great step. Just knowing that whatever I feed onto AI, it might tap into like my personal stuff.
Yeah, fair. And with information on the internet is basically real estate, if you will. If it's out there, it's accessible to machines, to people. Maybe we get to a point where really sensitive information does not end up online. I don't know how that works or how that will work for corporations and individuals, right? But it's going to have to be on a person-to-person basis.
I see you raise hand, Emmanuel. You have a question. You can ask a question.
Yes, I do. Just trying to be visible. There you go.
Hi.
Hello. This is like a topic that really gets people both excited and worried. The problem, of course, is that as human, we always push our boundary. We always want to go beyond what is already is. So research will keep on pushing how far they want artificial intelligence to go and do. And my problem with all of that is, like, of course, with people who attended this type of forum, questions to be asked will be, what are the legislation put in place to limit how far we can push this technology? Because we know for a fact that research is done behind doors, and we don't know what they are busy doing right now, and we don't know what the intentions are. For what I can think of, in wars, they can use this technology to do damage that could be irreparable. So what are the questions to ask? I'm not necessarily asking you guys, but when you get to those forums, ask them, what are the legislation put in place? Because I know government, as long as it generates income for them, they don't care. And as long as you start taking money from the government, then they'll start looking at you. So what are the legislation? It's just a way of thinking. And I don't know if you have any take on this too, but yeah, I'm really worried about not my generation, to be honest. But the kids and everything that's coming, the way they are hooked to technology, it's really going to be a concern for the next generation. And if they lose control of what they are, I don't see a bright future in that. It's just my worries. I'm more on the worry part than on the evolution one.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for sharing your worries.
For sure, like I can completely agree with you, Mayo, that like it's such a fine line between you seeing the benefits and also just looking at like what is the government's take on it. And it is such a big question. And I would have to say, honestly, I cannot answer that. But what I can also agree with you is that when we look at the future generation, it is a cause for concern for sure. Because when I interact with the other younger generation, the way they view AI is that now AI gets to do stuff for them. And that's not what I would want for them. And also even for other people that are adult is that we don't want AI to replace us. The same way we're saying that we don't want AI to take our jobs. You also don't want to be dependent on AI. You lose your critical thinking. You lose like our ability to engage in our cognitive abilities gets lost. So even problem solving, because now we're just if I need something, I'm just gonna feed it to chat GPT, and then it's gonna be okay. So it's such a tough terrain that brings its own advantages that we absolutely love. And then also it brings greater risk. But the one thing I can find comfort in is that we do have in every industry, you have some people that are really striving to say, okay, we want it to better the world. And also we're gonna put in some money to see how this could go really, really bad. And we also have those people that are wanting to push boundaries and cause chaos more than they can do good. So what can we do again as businesses that are starting up, is businesses that are starting to, you have an idea and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get this business going? So the little ways that you can implement the use of AI without some of the big risk, but it's never without risk, to be honest. Because if you go and search on Google, you might spend a couple hours, but if you know specifically what it is that, I'm doing my business plan and I don't really understand market research, what does that look like? And for a business that I'm trying to do, AI is probably to draw from more, like a lot of databases and be able to bring it right to your face, which is where I find the advantage. But that is not to say it doesn't leave me with any worries.
Yeah, fair point. I just wanted to touch on the concern that Emmanuel raised. Where is the legislation to limit the progress of AI, if you will? Another issue on top of that is, do governments even understand this technology enough to be able to develop policies to halt or limit its progress? And even if they do understand it, is that something they necessarily want to do, right? Because with AI, it makes it obviously easy to retrieve information, collect information, gather a whole bunch of information and make sense of it. Governments in the past and currently have been guilty of spying on their citizens, right? And AI has been around for a while, but it's now mainstream, right? So I don't know if we can trust governments to come up with the legislations. I'm sure there are a number of them that are very concerned about how it's going to affect human beings, people. others not so much. So we can only hope that, not to stoke the fire or anything, or to make everyone fearful, but I think it's going to be up to us as individuals, person to person, on the individual level, to really understand this technology. I think you owe it to yourself to understand this technology, its advantages, its disadvantages, and using your critical thinking. How can you, I guess, future-proof yourself? How can you protect yourself from this? Right? So it's going to require us as people to do a lot of the work as well. We can't outsource this thinking to other people to do it for us. In our communities, on a smaller scale, we have to do this as well. That'd be my take on that.
Thank you so much, James. Now we're going to proceed with another insight on AR and industry-specific applications. Okay, so Charles, how do you foresee AI transforming specific industry, such as healthcare, finance, or education?
For healthcare, off the top of my head, I'm looking at long surgeries, right? Identifying this cancer. Again, speed. It's fed the information that human beings have been able to gather over the years, right? And it just accelerates processing. So with medicine and with the diagnosing of diseases, it's going to be fairly instant. With surgeries, if we get to a point where robots can do surgeries, they won't take 24 hours, 48 hours. So the timeline, the time frame of everything just keeps shortening and shortening and shortening, right? It might also be able to help us to come up with different cures for different diseases, right? Because again, there is power in information, right? And there's even more power in being able to process information quickly and also quickly deduce results from it. So in healthcare, the speed of surgeries, I think, would be accelerated, and also might potentially have new cures for previously diseases that were classified as uncurable, right? So that's a major positive. And for education, again, I'm just going to touch on the speed aspect of it. Information now will become even more accessible, right? The internet did that. Now AI is going to take that to a whole different field. Information will be readily accessible. The question would be, do people even need to go to school now? If you want to learn anything, AI is your friend. You need to know how to code, AI is your friend. You want to learn how to write a business plan, AI is your friend, right? So it does have positives. Maybe no one needs to spend $40,000 to go to college. Maybe.
Oh, that would be great.
Right, that would be great.
I don't think it's that easy.
I don't think it's that easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
But obviously, the information already available now will make it easy and quick for people to learn new things, right, in the comfort of their homes, right, without having to fork out so much money to get education, right? And for finance, I'm not knowledgeable enough about the world of finance to touch on that. But from what I have heard, is that big investment firms, for example, use artificial intelligence to feed artificial intelligence information, and then from there, it can deduce if an investment is worth it or not. Again, that's and also predict markets if markets are going to go up and down, and if they are going to go up or down, when exactly is that going to happen, right? So it's definitely going to help in predicting, I know, recessions, depressions, economic booms, and all of these things. So again, just the information that's fed into it will produce incredible results, right? So again, finance, not very big, not very knowledgeable about finance, but that's a little I can add to that.
Okay, we've talked about the advantage, and now Gina, what are the potential risks and rewards for startups that are early adopters of AI technologies in their respective sectors?
I'll just start with like the rewards, and I'll say this. If you like do your research, right, about AI, like we went, and I was very skeptic too, just like Charles. We went, and then once you start acquiring knowledge, you have to find your footing, you have to find where you're fit or your business. Because here's the thing, there's somebody who has a business just like you. If you choose not to leverage something that could help you as an entrepreneur, somebody else will. And they will, but because they found where it fits in their business, where it fits for them. Because AI sometimes will just do things better. Because as human beings, again, we are not able to retain information, and our intelligence is nowhere close to a machine. So if you can find the little ways you can leverage your business, where you can make your business better, it can increase productivity without you crossing the boundaries that you have in place. Again, looking at the ethical issues and see how far you can take it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And also, I will continue to just emphasize about that collaboration piece, that you're going to have to feed AI, and you're going to have to, it's going to have to work. You have to work with it. Don't let it work for you, because that's you giving control. And then, you know, as human beings, the less we use our brains, it just deteriorates. That's just the truth of the matter. But then what are we without our critical thinking skills? What are we without our problem-solving skills? What are we then when we don't have the internet? Then you feel lost, then you feel like you're not qualified for certain things because you're good enough. So leverage it where you can. And the risks, again, they do exist. And as I mentioned earlier, that my big one is always thinking like, what if it gets to be smarter than us? And also, like, even just me being skeptic, it was the one of those things that I kept thinking at the back of my head, like, what if they get to be smarter than I don't want to be part of that. Then just hearing from somebody who's been studying AI for years and is deemed the godfather of AI, and him just saying that, okay, there's smart people that are developing it and doing all these things, but the smarter person is existing to see how to mitigate those risks. If it was to happen, that AI becomes smarter. There's people that are busy trying to see how we would handle that. But then again, we hope it never comes to that. We just hope that we are still able to collaborate with AI and make our industries better.
Thank you, Gina. Hello, Chamirai. Thank you for joining us. If you can introduce yourself and give us your insights on the AI. Thank you. Oh, you're muted.
Hello, I am Chamirai, and I was muted. I'm the executive director of NoBeep, and working with Charles and Gina and Karen to deliver the services to Northern Ontario Black community so that they can be more successful in business. Again, I want to reiterate, Black wealth is something that is near and dear to our hearts, and we believe that business is one way of doing that. To talk about AI, we think artificial intelligence, just based on my experience at Collision, it is a game-changing technology. And some people have said that when the internet was coming online in the early 90s, early 90s, this is where we are with AI today. We're at that point where, where people are just getting to understand the value of it. And the one thing I want to say that as somebody with a small business, you don't have to write correspondences anymore that are poorly written. You don't have to do that. You don't have to rely on yourself being an expert in grammar, in English, to be able to write something that is meaningful. And also, you know what? You don't have to have 10 people to proofread your work when you can use an AI to do some of that work. So it's so important that, you know, we as a community that is trying to develop businesses, that we start to use these tools. My first language is Shona, okay? And sometimes, to be honest with you, I think in Shona. So when I write things down, it's like I'm translating from Shona to English, right? But with the AI, I'm able to write it in a way that is more standard English, because I'm just checking it. I'm just saying, hey, can you rewrite this so it makes more sense? But apart from just the writing part of AI and using natural language processing capabilities, the other side of AI is that if you have a small business and you're collecting information from your clients over time, you can actually take that information you've been collecting over time, put it into an AI system and ask it to provide you more insight into that data, right? Unfortunately, we now live in a complex world. There's so many moving parts. It's so hard for any one person to know everything in their head. So when you throw some of your data into the AI and ask it to give some insights, it becomes much easier for you to gather those insights and be able to benefit from the insights that come out of the AI systems. The one other thing I want to say is that I think a lot of us, you know what, when we do events or things, we like to put images, right? You can now take your images, throw them in the AI, and ask the AI to modify them a little bit, or even to generate special images for you that you can use to communicate better who you are. Even logo designs, you can now ask AI to design logos for you. Use these tools. These tools are there to help you out, right? The last thing I want to say about AI is that I give an example that, you know, if you're President Obama, right, and you have to give a speech on a topic, you've got 12 people who are going to do research for you and come back and say, Mr. Obama, here's a draft speech. Today, we have the power to do what Obama did with 12 people by using AI for research, for putting information together so that everything appears more professional. So I'll say small businesses, learn how to use AI, learn how to use ChatGPT, pay the $24 a month for your ChatGPT so you can become better at writing. Do not send an email without proofing it with AI. So that's some of the things I wanted to share with you.
Thank you so much, Amihai. And now we're going to open the floor for questions to the panelists. If you have any question, you can raise your hand or write it in the chat box. Thank you.
I see a question in here by Elsie. Do you want me to try and answer Elsie's question? So Elsie is saying
Yes.
a concern is whose point of view are we exposed to with AI? Do we get cultural diversity and alternative worldview approaches? Look, I think with AI, the power in AI is your prompt. How you prompt AI in any conversation is so important, right? So just to give you an example, if I say, rewrite this email so that it sounds like a 15-year-old white girl, the AI takes that into consideration. It takes that context into consideration, right? In the same way, I can say, rewrite this so that it can be understood by a 7-year-old. So you have to be very careful what you feed the AI, else you're going to get crazy results, right? Same thing with images. If you are using an image generator, if you don't prompt it properly, you're going to get explicit images or something that you don't want, right? So I think what's really important here is that when you're using any form of AI, LC, make sure that you are prompting it the right way, right? Else you're going to get information that is irrelevant to what you really want. So that will be my answer to that piece. So the cultural diversity piece, the alternative worldviews will come from you prompting it. I've even asked an AI, rewrite this so it sounds like it's coming from a 19-year-old Black man who lives in Chicago. You know, that'll give you a different flavor. Because remember, Chicago people talk very different to people from Toronto, right? They talk very differently. So I think it's important to do that as well.
Charles,
Okay,
there's one thing that I want you to touch on, because it was a question prior to when you joined, and it related to the use of AI and the future generation. like what implications it might have for the future generations, and also just surrounding privacy and confidentiality. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you need to be very careful which AI platform you're using, right? Read the fine print, okay? Be careful what you share, just like on social media, you don't share everything in your life on your Twitter or your Instagram, right? So I think you have to exercise some discretion as to what you're sharing information with and what platforms you're using. Also remember, there are some platforms that are controlled by other countries. So be careful how you share information that's coming from that side, right? But I will say using AI is like using a spell check. If you don't use your AI, you are not going to be as competitive as a person who does use it. So I think it's important to recognize that. But again, I'll say, don't share confidential information, private information, that you think you can compromise your operation. So exercise some discretion. The other thing I would say is try to use AI, not for the whole work you're doing, but for pieces of it, so that you're not putting everything into an AI system, right? Maybe just work on that paragraph, don't put the whole context of what you're doing. I think that would be maybe one way that you limit that exposure that you have. The other piece too is that there are some natural language processing AI capabilities that you can bring in-house, so that everything you're doing is actually based on your own in-house information. It's not going outside, right? In the same way with us as No Beep, if we want to use any kind of AI tools, we can actually use it internally for our own internal purpose without it being on an external platform. So I think for your business, try to make sure that when you're using AI, you're not doing things with AI that are taking you outside of your business and causing you some risk exposure.
How about the future generations, Mr. Yabis?
Oh, the future generation. I think, look, there are people out there who, from the day they were born, they have a digital photograph, right? When I was born, there were no digital photographs being taken, right? In the same way, if you think about your own grandparents, some of your grandparents passed on without ever having a digital picture. There's no picture of them available online, right? So there's a generation of people who grew up with Facebook, with TikTok, with Instagram, who grew up with Twitter, who have grown up with all the social platforms. These future generations have a very different appetite for information sharing. And again, the future generation is going to need to leverage tools. There's jobs that human beings should not be doing that are very mundane and repetitive tasks that we need to get smart at how we do things like that. I think the future generation is going to have to be more creative. I think your creativity as a human being is really your natural value proposition to the world. So that's something that I think cannot be duplicated by any AI, right? So I think we need to make sure that, where your creativeness is, leverage that, okay? So that you don't end up, doing work that is a number crunching job that can be done by any system online, right? So people need to focus more on where their creativity is. I think that's where the value is. But I think the future generation is learn programming. If you're a young person under the age of say 15, learn programming. Okay, yes. You start learning programming now, because everything that we do in the future is going to be based on those programming skills.
Yeah, we should start learning programming now. So, Charles, Chamirai, how can AI help No Beep with its mandates? And what challenges do you anticipate to face during the implementation process?
The one area that I think comes to mind right away is every business that is successful has some level of a plan, okay? And I think it's going to be so important for businesses to use AI when it comes to things like creating a business plan, right? Look, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, okay? So leverage AI in things like this. If you're doing a marketing plan for your business, double check with the AI. So with No Beep, we're going to be pointing our clients towards these tools that they can use to buy themselves back time, right? We want to make sure that our clients are doing things in 5 minutes that they used to do in 1 hour. We want to buy you back your time, right? And we want to make sure that our clients are focusing on doing the work of their business as opposed to doing all this other background work, which is really a lot of documents and writing. So we want AI to be able to help them in those ways to leverage that. Things like translating your information from French to English, the AI is getting better. at that than people. So our clients, we're going to find any business tools that we can find and share it with our clients so they can leverage this new technology platforms so they can do work faster.
Is there any more questions from?
It was a good Karen. They are processing it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So see that since there's no more questions, so I would like to ask each panelist to provide a brief closing remark and summarize the key insights on the power of AI and its impact on startups.
I guess I'll go first. So I would just want to say, first things first, thank you everybody for coming to join us. So the one thing I will leave you guys with is that collaborate with AI, leverage it in your business, because whatever business you're doing, it will give you a leg up. Like whatever, find your footing, because I know that it can be threatening just thinking about what could happen, but inform yourself, learn about it, and find what works for you and what's your comfort level and leverage it. But also, as Charles said, what you feed AI matters, and make it work for you at your advantage without compromising yourself. And I love that people that attended the seminar, and I hope the people that will watch, that do your research because of the confidentiality piece, but having that awareness that there's a possibility that AI can enter into your private stuff, just the same way with cell phones and stuff, just knowing it is good enough. And be informed and use it. It has made my life way better. And if you have any more questions as a small business owner, don't hesitate to email me or any of our team members. We're willing to sit down and continue these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Look at that, I'm muted. And for myself, as an individual that prior to Collision was insanely skeptical about it. And again, I still am to my core to some extent, but there is usefulness to it. It has the power to make tasks easier. So as Gina was saying, leverage it, make use of it, understand it, the positives and the negatives, right? Take it as a new opportunity to learn. It is useful, it can be impactful. Make your peace with the fact that you might not understand all of it. And this is me sort of giving a monologue to myself as well, to keep changing my own thinking about it. But if you are someone in my shoes, you don't want to get left behind, right? So again, touching on what Gina said, use it as a tool to collaborate in accomplishing whatever tasks that you have, be it for your business, be it for your personal life.
Thank you, Charles. That's word for Mr. Chanirai.
Okay, thank you so much. You know what, again, look, we have to leverage the tools that we have. And just to maybe take a swing back and then I'll conclude. You know, part of the reason why Black nations were colonized was because we didn't have the innovations to protect ourselves, right? As a case in point, Zimbabwe, for example, when we got colonized in the 1890s, we had bows and arrows and the enemy had guns, right? So think of AI as a tool that you can use to actually leverage a position, right? But now let's talk about business. AI can be your digital assistant, your personal digital assistant who never complains, okay? Who's always 24 hours available to work with you. AI can be used for ideation, right? Ideation, you can use for ideation to get ideas to start a business. AI can be used for business planning. AI can be used for sales. AI can be used for your operations management. AI can be used for your marketing and communications. AI can be used for finance to make sure your finances are moving in the right way. AI can be used for customer service. So you can see that AI can be integrated into so many components of your business to make your business more useful. So these are the things that I think are important. And I think as No Beep folks, we need to give our clients the AI tools that they can use to enhance their business. And I think we'll do a follow on to this where we can actually share with you some of those tools that are available. So keep looking at our newsletter where you'll be seeing us sharing some of these tools so we move things forward in a meaningful way with you, leveraging this new technology that I think is going to make us perform better in our businesses.
Thank you very much, Amira. I think we hit the end of this webinar. And as I said at the beginning, the recording will be available at after the webinar. The webinar need to be on our website, nobeep.ca, and on the YouTube channel. Thank you everyone again for joining us, and see you. Bye.